Today we're going to find out what it's like to start creating your first course. I'm going to be talking to Jeremy Fieldsend about how he's approaching creating his online course. He's chosen his niche, which we talked about last time, written lots of content, but now he's in that difficult video recording stage. I think it's going to be interesting to hear about the challenges with course creation as they're happening, because I feel like once something's finished, whether it's a big success or not, it's easy to forget what happened along the journey. This is Square's TV App Lab number 96, where we talk about ways to improve your remote communication abilities. It's a lab on after hours and going out live on YouTube. I'm Michael Forrest. I make Video Pencil, Shoot and CueCam Presenter, among other things. My artistic projects, which there's a little bit of foreshadowing there. So first, let's talk some updates. So CueCam 2.4 Beta, thanks for all the feedback and to everyone who has jumped on a call with me to figure out some of the weirder CueCam Beta problems. Last week, I finally, so we had a crash. It was quite hard to figure out, but I actually managed to reproduce it this morning on my M1 MacBook, but not the Intel Mac, which the other person had the crash on. But I figured it out this morning, figured out how to remote debug into it and managed to fix that. And it was just a silly, I'm doing toolbars wrong. I also, last week, finally figured out how to get this window zooming to work, because you could zoom the desktop, you could zoom apps, but you couldn't zoom windows, which was actually then I saw someone having a problem with that. And I thought, let's figure this out. But it is... I think I could make a whole course on implementing pinch to zoom on apps, because it is absolutely a maths rabbit hole of confusion, especially if you want to start previewing the crop on in another application. So that's kind of working. I know we are getting closer to launch, but even when I've got this new update working, I still have quite a lot of work to do on the website. So I just thought I'd show you, and I need to do some videos as well. So I just thought I'd show you here's what here's sort of my work in progress new web pages. So I'm doing different ones. So I'm sort of doing the nice, so you see this is the current video frame. And as you scroll, revealing the content and just this is obviously I'm just figuring out the timing, what's going to happen when. So I'm sort of just sort of working on this and, making sure that, if you're on a phone, that it's gonna, I was gonna show you the window smaller as well. So if we just make that narrow, you'll see that still kind of all works. And if we go to the next one, yeah, so I'm sort of that. Hopefully the video style will be a bit more this kind of thing. So hopefully this is going to be fun to see once that's out. So yeah, it's been kind of a huge thing just getting the technical part of CueCam working, but the next stage it's communicating that. And then I see Tony's on the After Hours today, and we were talking about I do have on my list of things I do want to start doing some workshops, webinars, something. Just get people in a room on Zoom. And just have a simple thing, let's just present three cards about your cat or something, or something you're interested in, and then we have some breakout rooms, and I can come and help you get this and that working, and then we can sort of just show each other where we're up to, and just sort of to really help get over those initial hurdles of understanding how it all works. So yeah, that's the progress. Lots to do, as you can see, and if you want to help, you can go to cuecam.app/beta and just download it. And if you want to file a bug, here's what you do. You say what you did, you say what you expected to happen, and then you say what actually happened. And then that helps me go in, figure out what you did, see where the problem happened. Luckily, I'm getting crash reports now automatically. So that's been a huge improvement over CueCam, in the past where I've just relied on people sort of copying and pasting them and sending in an email. Now I sort of see them as they come in, which is just a huge improvement. And of course you can come on, you can either file this stuff on Discord, or you can just come and email me, or, DM me or whatever. So I'm just sort of or we can jump on a call even if it's a confusing one. So yeah, that's the updates for this week, and here is a quick break before our main event. Harvey. Okay, he does. He is enjoying that at the moment. All right, Jeremy Fieldsend has been helping people to use political and community engagement to secure planning permission. In the last 30 years, he's advised the Prince's Trust, local councils, companies like Sainsbury's, Asda, M&S, IKEA and Lidl, various housing developers, landowners and garden villages. He's decided it's time to package up everything he's learnt into an online course and discovered our community while looking for help recording videos while keeping eye contact. So here's Jeremy. Hello, welcome. How's your week going so far? Hey, how are you doing?
Well, yeah, as good as can be expected. So lumps and bumps, exciting stuff.
All right, so shall we just jump into it? I always think I'm going too fast, and then I look at the clock and it's like 6:45, and I'm like, what happened? So let's just jump into it now. So my first question was going to be like, why did you decide that you wanted to create a course?
There's probably two reasons, really. One is that, as you can see, I'm a bit of an old chap, and I've operated for the last 30 years in a very niche part of the planning system, which is the politics side and community engagement. So you can't do a university course in this. There are a few books, but frankly, they're not worth anything. And so I thought, I should try and capture all of the stuff that I've learned and just get it down into some sort of format. Initially, I was thinking of a memoir or something. And secondly, I thought, and then I saw something about monetizing stuff on YouTube, and I thought maybe I could create a course. I have done courses. I have done courses for universities, just individual lectures. And so it kind of sprung from that. And the thought of trying to make some money out of it just was the impetus to get it done.
So have you thought? So you've done some stuff, some sort of like teaching before then?
Yes, yeah. Just, I mean, not a huge amount, probably on the fingers of two hands. People just asked me to come in and talk, about the politics of the planning process, because it's a little bit of a dark area. As all politics is.
I'm just going to take a brief production break and ask John Ittleson, can you mute your mic, please? Because I'm hearing some spill. All right. So when you came to sort of structure, so you've sort of decided, so we were talking last time about how do you choose your niche, how do you decide? I think sometimes the easiest thing to do is like, well, what do I know? Like I'll distill this all down, which is a challenging thing to do, right? So how did you approach that? How did you turn that into a structure that you feel you can start to like
I think this is quite important, and it's an approach which I've used in other areas. But the thing is that don't get hung up on, as people start thinking about who's your audience and how you're going to frame this and what's the structure, you'll never get started. I'm a big fan of the phrase ready, fire, aim. So just start, whatever it is, just start it. And it doesn't matter. Don't worry about starting at the beginning, or, you've got to capture what you know. And the important thing is just to get it down as quickly as possible. Don't worry about what goes where or when. So you need to use something. Initially I used Trello, and I literally just created these cards. It'd be random thoughts that came into my head, and then gradually, as I started to get all these ideas down, you could then literally start moving the ideas around and say, well, this one goes with that, and this is beginning to look like a session on predetermination, which is an issue in planning. So the structure forms itself whilst you're getting your ideas out of your head and onto some kind of system. And my map would be equally useful, I'm sure. Trello works for me because I'm sort of slightly visual, and I like the idea of moving things around on a screen and taking it from that column and putting it into that column. So I would strongly advise it's just started. Don't worry about what it's going to look like. Just get it down, and then everything else will follow.
Yeah, you've really I think like some great advice I've heard is just do a really bad job. Like that's the only way to get started. Do it badly, and then you'll sort of start to get it flowing, and then you'll be able to start moving with it. How long before it was and did it ever become fun? Like, did it start being fun at a certain point?
It is fun, but it's fun in a kind of geeky way because so after Trello, then my process was to create a series of keynote presentations on my Mac, and that's just stuff that I enjoy doing. They're not straightforward presentations. There's a lot of animation, just to try and keep things interesting. But what the exciting thing was is that there was a natural evolution. So I've actually created over 20 of these videos. When I got to number 20, I was using a completely different format, different styles than I did in number one. So I actually had to go back to the beginning and then start changing. So it is an iterative process. But as you say, the important thing is just get it down, do it, and then you can start refining it, making it look as a whole, getting consistency across the thing. But you've got to have something to work with.
Yeah, I want to sort of come back to the animation, but like what sort of things you're animating. But I will say, like, this is sort of one of the things that I bulk out when it comes to like course creation is there's such a volume of content to create, right? Like it's not just one YouTube video. It could be 10 minutes. It could be half an hour. Like you're trying to create maybe a couple of hours worth of content, and as you say, like you can start off like as you're learning it's going to start looking better and better, and then you do have to sort of go back and sort of retroactively kind of like match everything to the style. And one of the things I always have with YouTube stuff like is, you know, that first one is often the hardest thing to do because I need my title graphics to have, you know, I need to choose a color scheme, I need to choose which font, like I need to choose what the thumbnails are going to look like, what my background is going to be like. So it's always, you've got this thing where I think you're building your documents and you're having to iterate on that, but also it's hard to get started with that first recording because you're like, well, you know, my I haven't figured out all of those graphics and that visual style yet. And you could end up recording like 10 videos and then realize that, oh, actually, I've just got this new microphone. It's much better. I've just got this new camera. And then you're sort of going to have to go back and do all of that stuff again. So I think you have to be pretty ready to do quite a lot of work to kind of get a polished product. And that just comes down to not only jumping in, getting started, but also like doing it or doing some form of it like very regularly. So I know John Turing sort of is every day making videos in CueCam just so that he's like always using it, and I've seen his style evolve over time. So have you sort of how much have you done in terms of like, you know, hitting record and sort of looking at that?
So when I create these keynotes, they are pretty kind of oven ready because I've gone through them so many times. And when I say animations, it's little things. I like to think it's not overkill, it's emphasis. So a word appears on the screen and it's something that you want to refer to or come back. So an animation might be, you know, we draw a circle around it or it pops out because we want to add emphasis. It's those sort of little things. It's nothing too dramatic. But as the words appear on the screen, it's as I'm saying them. So it becomes a reinforcement of what I'm saying. I mean, I should explain. So I've got so the video is a keynote presentation, and then there's a little picture of me in the corner talking to you. It's interesting you should say about just getting things, you know, just doing it, because it was only when I started to record it that I realized that I'm not looking into the camera. And that was my issue, which set me on the path to finding you, because I thought I can't produce all these videos where I'm using a MacBook Pro, so I've got a little camera in the frame, and as soon as I take my eyes off it, it's blatantly obvious. And it almost makes it worse if you start off by looking into the camera as I'm doing now, and then you look away, it almost accentuates the issue. But I wouldn't have known that until I started to record it.
Exactly. So it's there's always going to be a lot of work and a lot of learning, isn't there? And you
Yeah,
sort of coming at it from the content direction. I'm coming at it a lot often from the sort of production direction, and like
sure.
my content tends to be a bit more rushed, right? And it would be nice to sometimes spend a bit more time on that and structure that and make that a bit more involved. But then like maybe I'm not as kind of comfortable on camera, and I haven't got my lighting sorted out, and I haven't got my nice, I haven't got all that kind of stuff figured out. So
Well,
it's
I haven't done that either, and I know that's the next thing. I mean, I've done some work on the lighting. I am only using the MacBook Pro camera at the moment, and I know that won't be enough. And I'm only using the inbuilt microphone. I do have another microphone which I can use, but frankly, I just couldn't be bothered. I mean, I can make the sound better. I know that, but I've just got to get the the visual side. There's the presentation of me as the presenter.
well,
Hence the eye contact.
something we do say around here. It's like poor audio can really, like, your video can look beautiful, but if your audio is a bit off, then it doesn't
Right.
look professional. So it's really worth getting that microphone sorted out. Although this microphone is like, I don't know that I could have said that wasn't this sounds all right to me, but like some of
Yeah.
those, what is it, like an M1, M2, what model Mac?
It's an M2. It's an M2. Yeah.
Yeah.
M2.
So it's just they started putting half decent mics and lots of like software behind
Yeah.
it. Even though I'm sort of on my
That's what I call irony. Hello? I'm not sure what's happened there, Michael, if you can hear me. The irony is that as soon as we started talking about microphone and audio, your audio
I
went
should
weird.
be back now. Am I
You're
back now?
back. Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
nudged. I've got like a cable problem, and I lifted up my mic to show, and it pulled out my hub, so, which just
Well, I was just
momentarily interrupted everything. Yeah, the ironies. This is what we live with. We go live. This
I
sort
was
of thing
just
happens.
I was just
Yeah.
saying, as soon as we start talking about microphones and sound, the sound goes weird. So
Yeah, of
you
course.
can nearly predict that.
There's always something, right? There's just the stability of the hardware. There's things like the delay if the audio doesn't match up with the camera, and sometimes if you
Yes.
start getting fancy with your camera, you're gonna be out of sync with the microphone. And I've got like I've built tools to make that easier. It's really like. The thing is, like, you're on, MacBook Pro microphone camera, which means that like Apple have done all the work to make sure that's all in sync and that that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But they don't put good cameras in MacBook Pros, and I don't think they ever
No.
will, right? And so then you end up like me. I'm sort of on a Canon R6, and I've got this USB microphone. I've got a Elgato prompter here, and you end up getting all the bits and bobs just to sort of like incrementally improve what you've got. But I think in your case, like I think if you do have an iPhone, like there's ways to use your iPhone as
Yes.
a camera that will be an improvement on the built-in camera. And there's the Apple ways, and then there's my ways that I've made as well, that sort of work with the teleprompter. But yeah, like it is a bit of a rabbit hole, the video stuff. And obviously the people coming for the course, like they want the content, right? But you do have to make sure there's a certain baseline production value there, or it's very easy to like. I don't know if you've ever clicked on a YouTube video and it's someone talking about something you're interested in, but it's in like an echoey room with like a loud fan and traffic noise going on, and it's just you can't watch. It's
You
just
go.
unwatchable.
You go.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, for me, it's about. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to get issues and ideas across that are not necessarily straightforward, and it has to be done. Credibility is really important. Who is this guy, and why should I listen to what he's saying? And that's where I think the eye contact is important. And also, it's just it has to be engaging. And again, eye contact is about engagement, or maybe it's the other way around. But yeah, yeah.
Well,
So, but I think that the carry on.
this is where maybe like this is where you sort of come at it maybe like because once you are making eye contact, once you can like quickly jump into a screen share and like draw a quick diagram and kind of like do that and kind of go wow, and like you can it doesn't work half the time. You create that engagement with just you, and you don't end up like
Yes.
overcompensating by having loads of like other bits and bobs. So it's sort of like the basics, the groundwork is if people can just sort of see you clearly, and it's a hard thing to do because again like it involves like audio visual production to just have a kind of like clear representation of you that people can engage with. And then once that, if the sort of quality of that is a bit less, like it is like a FaceTime camera, you do end up like maybe overcompensating in other ways, and it can still work. But it can just be a lot harder work as well because you can't just turn up and be you. You've sort of got to turn up with this like bag of like slides and sort of like bullet points that reveal at the right time, and something flashes up here and you kind of transition here. Whereas if you're just in a room, like you'd be engaging probably just like that, and all you'd need is a little kind of occasional sprinkle of something to just illustrate a point. And
Yeah.
that's really kind of like how I approach things now.
I think the problem that I have, and I think a lot of people will have, is when you're talking about something that you know very well. The issue is not getting it out. It's being brief. And that's why I've sort of scripted it, because I mean I could talk all day about what I do and what I've done, and about an issue I could talk for hours, but it's not interesting for hours. It's only interesting for 5 minutes, and that's why I needed to script myself to make sure that I say the right things at the right time in the right order. So and then as soon as you start talking about a script, then that issue with the eye contact appears.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I need to resolve.
It's a journey that I've been on for like at least the last couple of years, and you see like I did my kind of intro, my thing, and that's all kind of like written and scripted and through the teleprompter, so that I can just bang through it, because you turn into these live streams sometimes and they're very this is live. Usually a live stream can be pretty rambling because someone's like going off left and right, and I think if that's one thing, the trouble with like if you do a recording and it's like that, you just end up with so much editing, and editing is just like I really believe in getting stuff in camera live as quickly, write the script, get that kind of polished. Like it's much quicker to rewrite a script than it is to like edit a video down from something that's a bit loose to something that's tight. And trust me, like I've done that for like I've spent a lot
Couldn't
of time
agree
doing
more.
that.
Couldn't agree more. I'm a bit sort of like you. I'm a bit of a musician, and I get really irritated where you get a substandard take on something and the engineer says, well, we can fix that. I say, no, we can't. Let's just re-record it and get it right. It's much quicker than somebody spending 2 hours in an edit suite, on Pro Tools or whatever. So I'm right with you on that. And you lose the spontaneity as well with endless edits, and you'll find things you think, oh, my voice tails off, or it doesn't tail off, and it's just quicker to do it again, I'm sure.
And there are tools that are pretty incredible, like that, like if you do end up having to edit a bit. So but I definitely like connect with you on the music thing. Like you can record something and it's not quite right, and you spend ages like trying to fix it in the production tools. But sometimes it's just better if you can feel it in the moment, and you just get all this nuance that you don't get otherwise. Something I was going to say was so there's tools like Descript, which like we were talking about like AI a little bit, but something that was really, it's when you are editing, I really find it useful to edit in Descript because you can just edit the words. But something incredible, like I'd recorded some interviews with someone where we were talking about this app that I'm using now, CueCam Presenter, but it was when it was still called something different. It was called Beatsheet Studio then, and we'd done all this content, and this Descript tool had this feature where you can like record your voice, record a few words, and then it gives you an AI version of your voice. And I was able to sort of go in and find where I'd said beat sheet, select, or either of us had said beat sheet, select it, like replace the text with CueCam Presenter, and
find and
it
replace.
sounded okay. It was fine. It was usable, and it like reproduced the background, the ambience of the room, and I was like,
Wow.
okay, this is kind of crazy. But like having edited in Final Cut a podcast for several years every week, just knowing, oh, if I'd had that, that would have saved me a lot of trouble, you know, sort of. So there are tools that, you know, it is tempting to kind of go, okay, yeah, well, definitely there's a lot more you can do in post now. But I don't think, I think it is noticeable. It does take you out of it a little bit. And it's sort of like a plaster in an emergency, and it shouldn't really be how you're kind of like producing all your stuff. I guess so how much work have you done so far, and sort of how much work do you kind of like feel like you're kind of like prepared to do? How much more time on this
in
project?
Hours, do you mean
in hours?
I
don't know.
I really have no idea. It's a lot. It is a huge amount. I mean, it's days worth. I couldn't really work it out. I mean, I've been working on it for a long time because I'm squeezing it in between the day job, as it were. But it is a huge amount of time. It's a massive commitment. So you better enjoy it, otherwise you'll never get through it. And I think you need to enjoy the technology. Otherwise it'll be really tough. It's got to be something that you would do. I mean, I do it because I enjoy doing it. I mean, I think it has to reach a certain standard because I want to charge people money for it, and therefore it can't be slapdash. It's got to be good. But no, I mean, I couldn't put the amount of time on it, but it's days and days of work, but really enjoyable if you like that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, it's fun talking about what you are an expert in, right? Like something that you've, you know, sort of getting to sort of pass that on. But it's the reason I've got you on, and not like, I haven't tried to get someone this person made this course and it made them £1 million, and, you know, they did. It's like, okay, that's all very well, but like that doesn't help anyone get to that point. And really, like, you need to be prepared and enjoy doing this work, whether or not there's any guarantee of any sort of profit at the end. You have to enjoy the process, or it's too much.
Because it is long. It takes a very, very long time. If you're going to do it and it's going to be any good, it is going to take a long time to do. So if you don't enjoy it, well, you're not going to do it. Well, you certainly won't finish it. But most people have got something that they enjoy doing it, and it may not be unique. In fact, almost certainly won't be. But everyone does things in their own way. They've got a particular spin on something, a way that they've done it that works for them. Well, guess what? It might work for somebody else too. But you won't know until you get it out there.
Yeah, there's an idea that everything, like, I think as an artist in the past, I've had this idea that everything has to be original to be kind of worth it. But as soon as you do something that there are other similar things, now people are like, oh, well, I prefer this person's approach. I prefer this person's way of explaining. So, like, just because there's like 10 versions of the thing that, you know, someone might want to do a course in, you know, that shouldn't put you off putting your own spin on it and your own voice to it, because as Jeremy says, like, there may be someone out there that connects with that. So what's your plan now? Like, what's how are you going to sort of like move forwards?
Well, after you've helped me solve the eye contact issue, I then got to record all these videos. I then anticipate putting them into, only because I've used it before, but I put it into ScreenFlow. You familiar with ScreenFlow?
Yeah, I've used it since 2007, I think.
Right. Well, that allows me to do any editing that I need to do. So chopping bits out, maybe, I say a lot, and whilst it's natural, sometimes it gets irritating. But the main reason for putting it into ScreenFlow is that I like to add sound effects to some of the animations. So, for example, you know, a word will flash up as part of the presentation, and it might, and a little popping sound might work well with that. So I add sound effects to certain animations, and I do that in ScreenFlow.
You can
Uh,
do that in Keynote. I did some
I
stuff recently
didn't.
where I had some little animations and
I
I
didn't.
wanted the sound effects. You can drag audio. So that's actually I actually like created the video content of my little fun animations in Keynote, exported that as a video
Right.
with the sound, and just sliced that up into different slides in CueCam so that I could have my teleprompter and my script. But yeah, it meant that you
Right.
can have the
Okay.
sound effects. So you might save yourself some
Okay.
editing by just kind of doing it direct. It's a bit weird. You've got to
Yeah.
drag it on and then there's a disembodied like music icon, but you can do it directly in Keynote. But yeah. Please
Okay.
continue.
Okay. Well, that's useful. And so then, once I've got a finished product, then it's kind of like another really really hard part of the process is getting it out there. I've got a sort of plan for doing that, but it sort of involves Facebook groups and LinkedIn. So my audience, which again I didn't. And this became apparent to me whilst I was creating it. So I didn't start out with this, but I essentially got two types of people who will be interested in this. One is the person who has got a piece of land that they think, oh, I reckon I could get a house on that. Where do you go from there in terms of planning? So if you like, they're self-build, they're sort of amateurs, if you like. And then there's the professional side. So you will have people who do town planning for a living. But the thing about town planning is they don't really tell you how to do what I do. So it's a bit like what's that thing that you call it when you add to your professional skill set? I can't remember what it's called. CPD,
Personal
something like that.
development.
No, that's a drug.
Personal. Oh, okay. I think like
Yeah,
personal
but
development
it's
is
so
probably it, right?
personal development. That's it. So there's two types, and I think I know where to get them. But it's not a straightforward process. I've got to engage with them. We've got to get talking about the issues, and then it's a question of me saying, I might be able to help you. So it's rather than just slapping it out there and paying some advertising or something. I might be completely wrong in this approach, but this is the way I'm thinking that I'm going to do it, is just by engaging with people. I mean, there will be some people I can go to directly. I've been in the business forever. I know an awful lot of people, so that's obviously an obvious way. So look, I can teach your guys to do this, and you won't have to pay people like me huge fees. Because you
Yeah,
once I've downloaded all this stuff that I've learned over the last 30 years, you can do it yourself. Because
yeah.
it's not actually difficult. It's hard work, but it's not difficult.
So you're talking about like community building, perhaps, on Facebook and those platforms. You're talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, it would be good to have a bit of SEO, like a bit of search engine stuff, YouTube as
Yep.
well. And so this is
Yep.
where, but actually, I think it's a good idea to actually start that work as before it's even finished, and start to kind of get those
Yes.
communities going. And I mean, again, it's hard enough to fit things in between the day job, but you kind of want people primed and ready for it rather than dumping the finished thing. But then that gives you an opportunity to actually learn from, okay, maybe you do an excerpt, or you do a first, the sort of first lesson or something. You try sort of uploading that, seeing if people engage with it, and start getting some
Yes.
feedback early on. Because I think
Yeah.
a mistake I've made for sure is finishing some huge thing and then just dumping, and then you sort of it doesn't immediately go somewhere. And at least in your case, you've got those people you can go to directly, but even that can be, then that turns into a much longer term project. I think when you're dealing with businesses,
Yeah.
it's probably over a year of talking to someone before I even made my first institutional sale of some stuff. Whereas when you've got that community and you've got people coming in gradually, so you've got to get your lead magnet. You find something that's going to kind of get people through the door, through Google,
Yeah.
through wherever,
That's
through LinkedIn, and just be talking to these people now, and rather than sort of waiting till it's finished, would be
Yeah.
probably
Funnily enough,
worthwhile.
in my sort of sort of to-do list, I had got down that during January I was going to start that process. Here we are at the end of January, and I haven't started it. But yes, you're absolutely right. The plan is for me to start these conversations, and so as you say, start relationship building and sort of talking to people, and so that they know that it's that Fields End guy that does this political community engagement stuff. Exactly. And the other thing that came out of when I was actually sort of downloading all the information into Trello is I began to think, actually this one would be a nice little 3-minute freebie, which is kind of sprat catch a mackerel thing. You can just chuck that out there and say, if you think that's good, get in touch, because we've got loads more.
Yeah, and make sure you're capturing people. If you can build a mailing list around it, then that's really. But a Discord server is pretty good as well. But I feel like the mailing list is all. I'm sure you've seen the same stuff I have. It sounds like you've sort of seen all this information, and you're kind of going about it the right way. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you kind of like want to bring up before we wrap up today? Because I hear the baby.
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's. I think we've covered everything. I just need to get this. So the next stage, it is. I am fixated on this, and I suppose I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, if you are, I hate the term passionate, because I always tell people who come to me for a job and they say they're passionate about politics. I said, look, be passionate about your football team or your girlfriend. Don't be passionate about politics. Life's too short. But if you are really into what you're doing, you will get fixated about things. And I'm fixated about this eye contact issue, to the point where it's stopping me doing other things. And I know it's a problem and it shouldn't. But hey, that's the way it rolls.
Well, there's maybe I'll sort of slowly wear you down, and you'll try my way, because I really think I've been through this and I've kind of come out the other side, and I think you're going to be like, maybe this would just be easier. But I have been working on a couple of little tools to try, and I did figure out if I could like import a Keynote deck and turn that into a CueCam document, and then just that would be a script. And I just did a little proof of concept of like exporting a CueCam document. I'm not sure what that would be, but like, just because you talked about, that was another thing, like you talked about like being able to give people like train the materials as well as the video if they pay for the course.
It's course notes. Course notes, yeah.
So I'm kind of working. I'm listening to you, like sort of thinking, okay, that's how he's coming into it. Like, how can I kind of ease that process? But we'll keep talking, and we'll see how you get on. And
cool.
Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Like, you're sort of, it's the evening for you as well.
Pleasure.
And thanks very much.
Yep.
And all right.
It's pleasure, Michael. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. So, thanks again to Jeremy. So, right, you can come and find my little community. It's not mine. I mean, it's at squares.tv/Discord. We've got a few hundred people in there now. So you might be able to get a bit of help on the stuff, Video Pencil, CueCam, when I'm not awake, because we're sort of spread around the world. So that's where you go for that. And to play us out this week, a remix video. So we lost David Lynch last week. Which was very sad for me, because he's probably my favourite director. I used to watch films with my sister on Sunday evenings, introduced on Channel 4 by Mark Cousins back in the late 90s. And I was an incredibly cynical teenager. So when Eraserhead started, it was showing on the TV, I was like, what is this pretentious rubbish? But then it just really drew me in, like the sound design, the visuals, the sense that there was a story that I couldn't quite put my finger on. I think Lynch does that a lot. Like it's not like random. It's like, but it's just you can't quite put your finger on what's going on. And then there's these moments of comedy. It's just, you just have to love it. Like, and he really cemented himself with me with Twin Peaks. I love Lost Highway. I've got like another, like this has just like stayed with me.
Where was it you think we met? At your house, don't you remember? No, I don't. Are you sure?
Of course. As a matter of fact, I'm there right now.
So, so yeah, Mulholland Drive, great. The straight story is amazing, like a guy on a lawnmower, and you just can't look away. I never want to see Wild at Heart or Inland Empire ever again because they just paint such viscerally terrible worlds. But I do respect, that it's just like it takes a certain talent and skill to be able to create those feelings. But anyway, there's this song from Eraserhead that I wanted to remix for years before the technology really made it possible, but then Ableton Live in 2008, like before 2008, sort of made it possible to time stretch video. So I was able to do this remix back then. It's my most popular YouTube video with 164,000 views. So I'm just going to play us out with my Eraserhead remix now. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you in 2 weeks. All right, bye.